Does it make sense for IndyCar to at some point start decreasing the amount of ovals on the schedule? Now, before everyone gets mad, I know there's a small segment of people that are like oval diehards and that's all they want to see on the schedule and they're happy if there's more ovals added. I totally get that. And I'm not really coming from a point of saying, I don't like them or I do like, I really don't really like them, but I'm not coming to a point of saying I'm arguing to get rid of them. But I'm kind of speaking in a more practical sense of, does it make sense for IndyCar to decrease the amount of ovals because of attendance, because of lack of sponsorship, because of lack of viewership, because of lack of a lot of other things that road courses and street courses actually offer where ovals simply can't? All right, so I'm really not trying to come from like a biased point. This is what I see in terms of why I see there's a discrepancy between ovals and then not have or adding more road street courses. And I know IndyCar, it's made from the Indy, like it's come from ovals, right? That was the main thing back in the kart days. At some point, at peak of kart, it was nothing but ovals on the schedule, and then they started adding street and road courses. I totally get that. But one thing one thing I see quite often is a lot of people have the mindset as like, oh no, but they're made to be on ovals. No, they were created for ovals. It's supposed to have ovals. And the thing that I see is like, well, a great quote from one of my favorite movies is Moneyball, is where he says, adapt or die. Right? If things are changing in the marketplace, if your consumers and their purchasing decisions are changing, you have to adapt with the times. And that's simply what it comes down to. And if it takes 4 times the work to promote a oval versus promoting a street and road course, and you get more attendance at a road or in street course without putting as much promotional work than you do at an oval, by all accounts, it just makes sense to reduce the amount of ovals. So that's the perspective I'm coming on. Not so much saying about, because the pros of ovals is it's close racing. You can see the track for the most part, minus the Indy 500. You can see the entire track, so you see all the action, and they go really fast, right? Those are the 3 main things that people kind of talk about each time they refer to oval. So I'm not referencing that. I'm talking more on the practical of like what's happening with the attendance, with the viewership, with just everything else that goes with it, alongside of how does that compare to road and street courses. So the reason why I think at some point ovals will, you even see it for next year, because this year you added the Nashville Super Speedway and then Milwaukee back to back, and next year you took away one of the Milwaukee events as a doubleheader, and it now got replaced by the Thermal Club. We'll see how that turns out. And then I don't know, but I think the Nashville Super Speedway, it's gonna go back to downtown to the street course, and now you're gonna remove another oval. So it's already kind of trending in that way. So anyway, so the thing with me that doesn't work with ovals is that and this is for any road course, right? Whether it's an oval, whether it's a road course, meaning like a dedicated track built road course, is that it's in the middle of nowhere, right? So I've gone to Road Atlanta, Road America, and Barber Motorsports, and Circuit of the Americas, and all of those, because it's a huge track and a lot of cars go there and it's loud screaming cars. You need to be away from everything because of just the nature of the event and what it's doing. Now, the downside is that you're typically not close to like the city. You're not close to like another populated area. So, it might be like a 30-minute drive, not a big deal to get to like a populated area. But nonetheless, like it is an inconvenience to a lot of people to say, okay, well, if we go over there, that's there's not much around there except the track itself. Then again, like at COTA, it's a 25-minute drive, and you're in back in the city, right? Not a big deal. But that is something and again, that's applicable to any oval or road course. That's going to happen. But then another thing, and again, just the optics of it, if you look at the tracks, they look pretty boring. Again, this is my perspective, but if you look at, I don't know, Texas Motor Speedway, right? Like they look pretty boring. Like it looks like it's just a bunch of concrete cement. And when I say boring, it's like, if you compare it to a road and street course, right? Let's say a road course, right? And I'll go based strictly off the ones that I've been to, because I choose the ones that look a lot more appealing, right? In terms of like, it's not just the track itself, it's the whole venue. So if you look at Barber Motorsports, Road America, Road Atlanta, there's so much green, there's so much foliage, there's so many trees, there's so much, like it seems so much more welcoming and inviting and pleasing to the fans, because although the track itself is really cool and nice, well, so is everything else. Like, so is the scenery, especially Road America. I mean, the amounts, like, first of all, it's a ginormous track, right? It's not track, but a ginormous venue as well. And there's so many areas you can go to. There's so many back roads you can take. There's so much like exploration that you can do on the track, whether it's on the back straight of that of Canada Corner, or going into the carousel, or going into turn. Like, there's so many spots that you can go to, and so many places you can have a vantage point, whether you want to have a clear open view on the grandstand, whether it wants to be on the hillside of turn 5, whether it's on the carousel where you can look through the trees. Like, there's so many spots, and it's a beautiful track. Like, it's a beautiful venue. Barber Motorsports comes in second, where there's a lot of foliage. You could be at one of the sections where you're under the trees, or you're like, it's all uphill, so you have like a good vantage point to the section that you're looking at. Each section has a jumbotron with speakers, so you can pay attention to the whole race if you're when you're there. And relative to that, like, if you look at the ovals, minus the Indy 500, obviously, it just looks really boring, right? It doesn't look appealing. It just doesn't look flattering to me, especially on TV. And then, on a side note, it's like, then you look at the grandstands, and those look so empty, like it doesn't look good for the sport. Where now, if you're going to put them on Fox next year, and you turn it on, and you're like, where's everyone at? Why is the place so empty? Like, is it, is something happening that it's still empty? So that's not a good look either. And again, to me, we drove to Road America, Road Atlanta, Barber Motorsports. We drove to those events, right? We're in Houston, so to drive the Road America, it was 1,200 miles, and that's one way, not both ways, one way. Which is a 19-hour drive. Barber Motorsports was 700 miles, so that was a 10-hour drive. Road Atlanta for IMSA, not IndyCar, but that's still, I think that's still a fair comparison, is that was 900 miles, and that was 12 hours of a drive. So I'm still willing to go out and drive to this venue because, one, the track, because it's a road course or street course, and because it's a nice venue. Like, we can camp there, and that's another thing where with the oval, not that I know much, like I haven't been to oval, and I don't plan on going to oval, not even the Indy 500. That's just because Indy 500 is like too crazy for me. So like if you look at that, like, we drove there because, one, we like to bring our own stuff, like to cook and to sit and to do all that, and then two, we also do like to camp. So like at Road America, we camp there. And again, it's very welcoming. Like, there's a lot of grass, a lot of greenery, a lot of foliage, so it feels like a nicer event to go to. Whereas with the camping, like at a oval, if it's infield, like, you just feel like you're in a box. Like, there's nothing, like, you're just in this one little patch of grass in the middle, and like, okay, that's all you see. Again, I'm not trying to say this in the sense of like, oh, I don't like ovals, oh, took them away. I'm saying this is what you have to battle when you're trying to bring non-fans or trying to attract new fans to the series, to ovals. This is what you have to battle, right? Because with me, like, we're going to St. Petersburg next year for the opening round of IndyCar. And it's such an easy sell to do, or it's a much easier sell to do, bringing friends and family, because it's at a street course, it's in Florida, it's in downtown, it's 20 minutes from the beach. Like, it's very easy to sell them to go to a street course, because there's a lot of other things that you can do that isn't racing that's accessible right there. And you just simply can't do that with, again, and this is applicable to both ovals and road courses, but road courses have these other things that I'm mentioning, whereas ovals don't. So that's also, like, again, like, it's you're fighting an uphill battle when it comes to getting more people to go to ovals. Now, me personally, I'm not a fan of grandstands. Like, the reason why, like, even going to well, yeah, just in general, I'm not a fan of grandstands. Like, I like to take my own camping chair and be comfortable and sit down. So I don't really want to go and like sit on a bench for however many hours, right? Like, I want to walk around, get different vantage points, and with and not that you can't do that with ovals, but that's the same reason why I kind of didn't want to go to the 24 hours of Daytona, is because it doesn't really give you like that camping feel. Yes, there's camping on site, right? Like, yes, but in terms of like comparing camping to at Road Atlanta versus Daytona, it's totally different. And no fault of Daytona. I'm just saying, like, that's not the kind of camping that I want. So to stretch that to what I'm saying is, I don't want to sit at grandstands. Like, I want to sit on a lawn with my chair and be comfortable and walk around and go see different vantage points, right? Like, I don't really care about like sitting in one spot and like watching the whole race, because at that point I can just watch it from the TV. And there's a difference. Like, you don't go to a race, minus ovals, you don't go to a race to watch the whole race, right? If you really want to watch the entire race and get all the details, you got to stay home. You just can't do it. Granted, if you're camping, you take your own TV, your iPad, that's also a viable option. But if you're going to go to a in-person event, like, you are going to miss parts of the race. Like, when we went to Barber Motorsports, I was taking a lot of photos and videos. So it's also my fault, but I missed a lot of the race too, because I was so focused on taking photos that, I mean, all the overtakes and the crashes and all that in the beginning, like, I didn't actually see a lot of that because I was so focused on trying to get photos. But to me, I don't want to sit at a grandstand. It's not appealing. That's why I didn't really want to go to Daytona 24 hours. I eventually will, probably. But I'm just not a fan of like sitting at a stadium. Like, I want to be like at an event where there's plenty of turns and hills and places to be at. And then again, like, it's just harder to convince non-race fans to go to an oval with everything that I just said, where it's in the middle of nowhere. You have to drive quite a bit to go to a populated area. The track itself looks boring. The camping's not all that. There's a lot of things you have to fight, in my opinion at least, to get people to go to an oval race. Now, with street courses, that, like, and I know a lot of people don't like street courses because, like, it's not a dedicated race course, but that's just going to keep on, like, I don't see, like, it cost COTA, I think it was, what, $700 million to build a track. And that's the most recent big track that's built. I don't think there's a lot of people out there who are looking at building a track as a viable asset to have in their portfolio to, like, make money from, right? So all the tracks that we have now is basically all the tracks that we have, right? Like, and especially with things going green and things going more eco-friendly and all that, which is all fake, but, you know, going more green and not wasting as much material and whatever, is that I don't see someone saying, hey, I'm gonna dump $100 million to build this racetrack where, you know, if it's not an FIA grade 1 course, then, you know, maybe 3-4 big events come to this event, and maybe I break even, maybe I lose a little money, but I'm not making money off this track. That's simply not going to happen. But what can happen, and what's a lot more viable, is there's more street courses, because it helps the city. And I'll just go into those points where, at street courses, it is very convenient to have for race fans and non-race fans and the city, because the city gets a major attraction. It brings in tourism. It brings in money to the local businesses. It puts their name in the spotlight of, like, more people know about that city. So when we went to Nashville in person, drove those 800 miles, 12 hours, I was able to explore Nashville and, like, get a bit, because I was there for 3-4 days. Like, I enjoyed the city of Nashville. Like, I talk about Nashville now and Broadway and everything around there because, like, I went there for a street course, but because they're after qualifying, after practice, after the race, like, we were already in downtown. We walked around, went to other attractions around there, and now, like, I like the city of Nashville. I think it's a really nice city. I would like to go there again when it's not at the Oval far away, but back in downtown, because I really do like Nashville, and I'd like to take other friends there. And they can and they can go see the race, and also we can go and be around the city as well. And that's the attractiveness of a street course, which is why we're going to go to St. Petersburg in 2025. Like, I prefer road courses first, street track second, and then ovals third. But I would take a street course because it, like, how convenient it is. Like, if you're flying and not driving, you can fly into probably the nearest airport, like major airport, and maybe have like a under 45-minute drive, and, like, you're there, like, you're at the racetrack already. Versus that might be quite different when you are going to a purpose-built road course, and your nearest, you know, hotel, airport might be like an hour plus away. Again, it just depends where you're going, whatever, but I'm trying to keep things very, very general. And another thing too is, like, there's easier transit to go to street tracks. Like, I believe at St. Petersburg, depending on where you are or whatever, like, I think you can drive to a place, and then there is a bus that takes you to and from the track. That way you don't have to drive directly to the track. So there's a lot of things that, like, again, like I'm not the fan of, I'm not the biggest fan of street tracks, just because, like, there's not enough runoff. You can't really full push. Like, I'm not a fan of that. But I do still like street tracks more than ovals, and I because of everything else that comes with it, in terms of everything else you can do around the event itself, like go around, try new places, try new restaurants, look around, look at the attractions. Like it is very appealing and very convenient for fans. And look, like, you can make the argument to say, like, oh, why we need to have more ovals, or why, IndyCar is an oval, that the Indy 500, and that's our biggest race, and we should do more ovals. But, like, now, the second half of this 2024 season is more ovals than, I think, right? Is more ovals than street or road courses. So it's like, if IndyCar, if Penske Entertainment and all them, they look at the numbers and they say, okay, the first half of the season, we were up in attendance and viewership. I'm keeping things general, but follow me here. It's okay. At all the street road courses, and like when I went to Road America, they were like, this is the most attendance we ever had. When I went to Barber Motorsports, this is the most attendance we ever had. So, per what they were saying on the speakers, they're like, this is the most attendance we've ever had. Now, we'll be able to compare that to what all the other ovals that we have. So for those that want ovals, and you better go buy tickets to the Milwaukee Mile, because if they look at the P&L sheet, right? If they look at the end of the season, and they have all the bigwigs, all the VPs and all that run everything, and they say, okay, well, all the ovals have much less attendance, much less viewership. The sponsorship for those are a lot less because there's less attendance and less viewership. Well, what's just the obvious thing to do, right? Like, and this applies to any business. If most of your revenue comes, like, let's say 70% of your revenue comes from street and road courses. I'm keeping things, just stay with me here. Let's say 70% of your revenue comes from road courses, 20% comes from street courses, and then 10% comes from ovals. Well, if your least revenue generating activity is ovals, not that you remove them altogether and just say scrap all of them, but like, you have to be smarter with where IndyCar doesn't have this endless pot of money to pull from, right? This isn't F1 money. This isn't NASCAR money. So does it make sense to say, okay, we want to keep ovals because ovals is a part of IndyCar. That's part of the DNA. But instead of stretching our resources thin between 7 ovals, do we cut back to 5? And those 2 resources that we're freeing for ovals, we can implement that into the other 4, 6 ovals that we have, and we try to really boost these up. That way, we have fewer ovals, but like the attendance is better, the program is better, the event is better. Like when people just talk about like, oh, IndyCar needs to upgrade its chassis because it's 12 years old. Oh, IndyCar needs to go and add this track. It's like, it's not like Roger Penske is like, oh, you know what, guys? Yeah, next year we'll go to COTA. It doesn't work that way, right? You have, the teams need to agree. The team need to have the money. The promoters, they need to find promoters for the races. The track needs to be able to suit what IndyCar brings in terms of attendance in the cars. Like, it's not just saying, oh, add more ovals. It's like, yeah, add more ovals at the expense of what? Lack of resources, no attendance, no viewership, no promotion, like, you have to take all these things into consideration when you want to make a decision. So that's why I'm not really coming from the side of like, oh, it's harder racing. It's more harder racing in ovals because they're so close together versus road courses. That's always going to be subjective, like always. But like in terms of like, and it goes back to like, what's the goal of IndyCar, right? Because if they had a North Star of like, hey, we like, of course, like we want to grow IndyCar. Yes, but what does that mean, right? Attendance, viewership, money, sales, like by how much? By like, what is the clear goal for IndyCar? And you have to look at these things and say like, does it make sense to keep on doing what we're doing? But like again, next year they've already removed one of the Milwaukee Miles to have the thermal club, right? So I don't think they'll never remove ovals entirely because obviously no. But I'm just saying like, is that a conversation moving forward with, again, like a big thing with IndyCar is like the lack of resources, right? And I don't mean the lack of resources the lack of resources of staff, of money, of promote. Like that is what I like. Like they don't have millions of dollars to spend at every race to get people to go like that. We're not dealing with that kind of budget. So anyways, my thoughts, let me know what you think in the comment section down below.